Bungie has exposed live service gaming, showing us what we can expect going forward for gaming in 2023 and further on, and just what live service is in general. If you don't know what I'm talking about, while making a presentation at GDC, which is the Gaming Development Conference, a Bungie general manager by the name of Justin Truman talked about the transition Bungie made from a box product to a live service product in front of a bunch of developers, and it's a real eye-opener to say the least. Like, on one hand, it makes sense based on what we've seen over the last few years, but at the same time, it's just like, you're basically confirming everything. You are confirming everything that we have been saying for years now with these live service games, and it just is like, whoa. Now, obviously, I know a lot of this was being aimed at the developers that were there, whether they were looking for a new job to potentially be hired by Bungie or learn from other development teams. I 100% understand that. But I still think it's important to discuss what was said here during this presentation. And after discussing what was talked about, then what does this really mean for gaming? What can we as gamers expect to see in our games going forward, as a huge chunk of the industry is going towards these live services? Xbox, Microsoft, even to some extent Nintendo is going towards live services, and I would not be surprised if we see even more of that going forward. Obviously, other companies and other developers are going into this live service area, and I guarantee you a lot of them are going to learn from what Bungie made at this conference. It's just simply who Bungie is. Regardless of what you think about their game Destiny 2, they have one of the most successful live service games in the industry, so why wouldn't you want to learn from them? Again, this whole presentation, it can be a real eye-opener. But before we get into the real meat of this video, let's know your thoughts down below in the comments. Do you like live service games? What are your personal thoughts on them? Do you think game developers and publishers and companies and everything need to stop going with the live service, or go full in 100% into it? Again, just simply, what do you prefer? And if you happen to enjoy the video, maybe leave a like. Again, leave your comments down below and sub to the channel, as it helps us out a lot and let us know if you like this type of content. If you don't like the video, then leave a dislike and let us know down in the comments below, what can we do to make the content better going forward in the future? Finally, if you want to check out all our socials, then make sure you hit all the links down below in the description. See what we do on the daily. All right, with that being said, let's get started. Now, the full presentation from Justin is over 80 slides, so don't worry, we're not going to be going over every single page. Some pages are simply just like a sentence with a picture on it and everything like that, but regardless, we're not going to go through everything. I just want to summarize the terms of box products, live service, what Bungie says is success to their live service, and is this the right way for gaming to go moving forward, aka my opinion. I will leave a link to the full presentation down below if you want to go ahead and check it out for yourself. I think personally it is worth a read, and you can draw your own conclusions after listening to this video and reading that presentation. All right, let's start with box products. Justin defines box products, as shown on slide 25, as games that blow your mind with a scale, polish, and quality. They feel almost perfect. But he says something at the end of page 25 that kind of caught my attention. Quote, "We all know these products don't start perfect." Now, obviously that should make some sense to everybody, whether you're a gamer or a developer, because not everything is perfect from the get-go. Most products, most things like games and movies go through multiple changes, script changes, you name it, but it makes sense that something's not gonna be perfect from the get-go. That obviously makes sense. But anyway, I'll come back to this later. Anyway, let's continue on. The idea on slide 27 is taking a game and doing all that iteration in secret at your studio until you release a near perfect product. This is what he refers to as a box product mindset. In fact, that is pretty much how he describes Halo, Bungie's game series that was made under Microsoft before Destiny, and what they did as a company during those days. Now, if you're confused like I was when I first read this, then you might be thinking, wait, shouldn't it always be someone's goal to make a product close to perfect? Obviously, nothing is perfect, but try to make things the way you want to, get rid of bugs and glitches to the best of your ability, and then release that product? Well, according to Justin, that is not how you should be doing things if you're going for a live service game. But Justin then talks about the mentality and the culture of a product and what they learned with Destiny 2 to change the mindset to create their live service. Remember, regardless of how you feel about the game Destiny 2, love it or hate it, it has become one of the most successful live service games in the industry next to Fortnite and others. Heck, I mean, why else would Sony want to buy Bungie for $3.3 billion to help them make all of their live service games that they say are coming in the next 5 years? The first thing Justin mentions about live service is being fast. Not quality or anything like that, which again is weird, but we'll get back to that in a bit. He says that to stay afloat as a service today, you need to consistently be feeding your players, responding to their concerns, and making the game better, which again makes sense when you look at what live service generally should be. He then goes on to say box products are in the business for over delivery, while live services are in the business for constant delivery. This is all stated on slide 28 for reference, by the way. He then brings up velocity and how it relates to the game you are releasing. He talks about how it's important to realize your game will suck at launch, and that is okay.
Are you sure about that?
Because over the next year, you will make or break your live service based on the updates you make that following year, the velocity, and how much better the game is getting each month. This is what builds and retains fans in 2022. Slide 30 for references here. Now, I could go slide by slide to go over what is said, but to summarize it, as the presentation went on, he talks about how Bungie evolved and changed their company to work in the mindset of a live service, what they did with Destiny 2, and how they got it to be as successful as they are now, both in terms of the game of where it is and how successful they are revenue-wise. One of the things he touched on was planning this stuff out months in advance, and how by the time one piece of that live service releases, you will already be working on something that will be releasing months and months down the line. This is why when we give feedback on games in this live service industry on, say, a particular season, nothing huge is really changed until like 4 seasons down the line, which, keep in mind, each season is about 2 to 3 months, give or take. This is shown between slides 55 and 56. 55 shows what they did with Destiny 1 and how they were doing their DLC and their quote-unquote live service they wanted to make, and slide 56 shows how they are handling Destiny 2 now. According to him, Destiny 1 was still when they were in the mindset of a box product, and Destiny 2 Beyond Light, which released in 2020, is when they were fully committed to the live service mindset. Throughout the rest of the slides, he goes into how they changed things in terms of how the community was evolved, what social platforms they used, how they make changes according to feedback, and much more. Their biggest one was how trust and retention is first and more important than something like revenue. That comes third in this whole step of transferring from a box product mindset to a live service. Finally, at the end, he talks about looking back and seeing what worked and what did not, and how you can go about improving that and so forth. Oh, and then he also said that if anyone wants to apply that was there are tons of positions opened up that they want to hire for. Okay, so now that we're done with that presentation and summarizing it, let's take a deep breath and go over some points that stood out to me personally, because I've got a lot of opinions on this. Some of the stuff I actually agree with. A lot of it, not so much. Obviously, I'm not a game developer, and I know their business, and the biggest thing will be them in the end wanting to make money, regardless of what their presentation says about how player retention and all of that stuff is the mindset that you should go with before you look at revenue. But let's be perfectly honest, they are a business, so we all know about that. And again, one thing to always remember is that this particular presentation, it was not aimed at me, it was not aimed at you guys, it was aimed at developers, whether they're looking for work or someone who's just simply looking to learn from others in the industry. That's the whole point. It's like going to a job fair or any kind of those fairs where people give presentations on things. It is not meant for the players, okay? Just keep that in mind right now. With that being said, let's get into some opinions. First, it makes sense to have a different mindset when it comes to making a game that is a box product versus a live service. Both types of games are very different, so it makes sense that you want to have one mindset for one type of product and one mindset for a different type of product. Makes perfect sense. That being said, though, when I saw the words, "Your game will suck at launch, and that is okay," I was shocked to see that. If you've been playing games for the last like 10 years, then you know all about games that have been released in really poor states, both live services and non, but mostly live service games. Battlefield 2042, Anthem, other Battle Royale games, Babylon's Fall, and so many more. Heck, Destiny 2, as stated in this presentation, almost failed itself, which kind of an eye-opener right there. So why is it okay to face the fact that your game will suck at launch? A launch, at least in my opinion, is everything. At least that's what most gamers think. I guarantee you ask most gamers and they're gonna say, yeah, the launch is everything. Now, on one hand, I kind of get it, right? This is meant to be pushed towards developers to say like, look guys, it's okay. Some things are not gonna go the way you want them to. Nothing is perfect in this world, and I 100% get that. However, That being said, shouldn't you want your product to be the best that it possibly can be? Everything from it being received well, getting good reviews, and then after that, with the live service that you're going to provide, it continues to grow and improve, and good word goes around. There is a reason that a huge chunk of gamers don't play Destiny, and it's because it sucked at release. It just had, whether it was bugs, the live service promises weren't there, the DLC was lackluster, it had tons of flaws. And regardless of the amount of money they're making now, if they had come out with a good product in the beginning, or any of these games, like for example, looking at you, Battlefield 2042, if you had come out as a good product, I'm not saying perfect because nothing is perfect, but it come out as a good product in the beginning, very few bugs, very few glitches, the proper content to be there at release, features in the game that players have expected for years and have been there in previous iterations of these games, then guess what? There would be way more players playing your game, and they would actually probably stick around longer the more you continue this live service aspect. So again, I understand why he's there saying what Bungie is saying and what they want from the developers, what they think developers need to do when going with a live service game, but I really disagree with him here about not having a good product on day one. And who knows, maybe I'm reading into this a little bit too much. Maybe they're like, no, it's okay, we want to have a good product, but maybe he's gonna, look at the word perfect compared to a good product. But when I read those words, I quoted that panel saying it is going to suck day one, and that is okay. I'm just like, what? Why would you have that mindset at all in the beginning? Now, he does also touch upon the fact that, there's obviously things like being overworked and the grind and everything and the push, especially when you come close to release. We've heard tons of reports, especially recently in the last 5 years and everything, and I 100% do not support that, and I don't think anyone should be pushed to that extreme when it comes to finishing a game ready to release and everything. However, this also comes down to a fact of, okay, so if you don't want to give crunch to your developers, which by the way, I don't think anyone should have to crunch or anything like that, then why aren't more people hired? So if you don't want to do that, then guess what? You've got to start doing other things to help make those deadlines and everything like that. Hire new people, bring new employees in, have a separate team ready to do the live service thing. It is very obvious that all of these live service games that have failed in some form or fashion throughout these years is because they make the game and they don't have the live service stuff ready to go, or at least halfway ready to go by the time the game releases. That's the reason. Look at all of the failed live service games over the years. So on one hand, I get it, but you need to then bring more people in to actually start doing that and have someone with a goal, whether it's a leader or management and everything like that. Don't let the super higher ups dictate what's going on, which again, I know it's just something that happens over and over again when it comes to these types of things. Now, everything I've simply just stated right there, though, does require more people to be working on your game. But with all the record profits that these companies are bringing in, you think they'd be able to. And yes, by the way, I know companies want to do things cheaper and make more money. They're a business. I 100% get it. I don't agree with it, but I get it. I'm just tired of seeing people say that we have to pay more money for these games. Heck, hence the push for $70 games. And yet these companies are raking in profits like no tomorrow. Microtransactions are being stuffed into every single little scene in a game. Oh, and by the way, they're still not finished. Why should we pay full price for a non-finished game then? So by Bungie's logic then, it's okay, your game's gonna suck in the beginning, it's gonna have all these problems and everything like that. Why am I paying full price for your game? What you're saying basically right now is that everyone should not be paying for your game at all or buying into your game until like a year later, essentially, is what you are literally saying based on your presentation and everything. And again, maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into this, but that's what I'm seeing. And again, I know I'm not developers. I know I'm not the publishers. I know they have all this extra data that is meant to be seen by them and them alone, but it just really baffles me to see something like this. I mean, if things are not supposed to be perfect on launch, then games should be lower in price for when they're released. If it's gonna be a buggy mess with little to no content, then bump it down. Or I guess if you're gonna go to free-to-play route, then we've already expected that 99% of free-to-play games are just garbage in the beginning, apparently. That's just the way it is based on their logic. I don't know. Again, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but it's weird to see something like this from a company like Bungie. And again, this isn't, if you're a game that's something like God of War or Elden Ring or something like that, then obviously they're not going to follow this. but more and more games are going into the live service one. Again, looking at something like Battlefield 2042, you asked 99% of the Battlefield fans and people who would buy into this game. They want a fully completed game, good maps, good game modes, classes, the whole 9 yards. And what did we get? We got a broken ass mess, crap game that took months upon months to finally get into a somewhat stable place. And they're still fixing some issues on it. And their live service took almost a year to start. Not to keep going, but to start. That right there is why live services can never be trusted by a majority of the gamers. But at the same time, if they have all this extra data that's saying like, look, even if gamers are yelling to the stars on social media and everything, guess what? They're still buying into it. They're still buying our microtransactions and everything. Then I guess everything I've just said right here is pointless, and they're going to keep making record profits and everything. It just, again, it baffles me just reading all this and wondering, where is gaming going to go in 2023 and beyond? Should we expect our games from now on not to be finished when launching, aside again from your single player games like Spider-Man and Legend of Zelda coming out this year? Are all of our favorite multiplayer games just going to go live service, meant to take years to be completed after they've been released? Again, looking at you, Halo, looking at you, Battlefield. Now, with all that being said, and I know it might have sounded like I was rambling there near the end, I want to know your personal thoughts. I want to give you the chance now, giving you the floor. What do you think? Let us know your thoughts down below in the comments when it comes to the presentation that we just talked about. And what are your thoughts on games going forward if they're going into the live service area? I mean, who's to say that things don't change if you're even not going into a more traditional live service area and games are still going to come out broken and not really completed and everything? Again, it's weird when they advocate and people say, look, we need to pay more money for these games at the start, which I get. I would actually be okay paying $70 for games if they were completed. And 9 times out of 10, they are not. Why did I not have a problem buying God of War at $70? Because guess what? Santa Monica, they had a completed game and I expected it from them, and they had it, and they've always delivered a fully completed game. Had no problems paying $70 day one, absolutely. Paying $70 for something like Battlefield or Halo or anything else in that nature under these live service games? Psh, heck no, I'm not gonna buy that crap. Forget that shit. So, what do you guys think? Do you think I'm overreacting when it comes to this? Do you think that Bungie has just simply shown us what to expect going forward in the games? Or have they really shined a light on what live service is? And hopefully we as gamers can be like, look, enough is enough. We're tired of getting these broken promises and not getting anything from this. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. So, did you enjoy this video? Again, let us know all your thoughts down below in the comments as always. And if you enjoyed the video, leave a like as always. And don't forget to follow us over on our social media platforms and subscribe if you happen to be new. And again, if you didn't like the video, leave a dislike and let us know what we can do going forward in the future to make our videos better. I've been Tallen with 59 Direct, and we hope to see you guys in the next one. Johnny.